Good morning, students. Let's start with the new chapter of science, that is reproduction in plants. When we say reproduction, what do you mean by reproduction? Reproduction means production of new individual from the parents, or you can say that when any organism produces offsprings of its own kind. So every organism reproduce, and you have already studied about reproduction in class 6th, that every organism, whether it is the human beings, whether it is the animals, cats, dogs, or plants, they all reproduce. So in this chapter, basically we are going to study about the reproduction in plants. Okay, reproduction is of two types. One is asexual reproduction and the other one is sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction means the reproduction which takes place without the seeds, and sexual reproduction means the reproduction which takes place from the seeds. That is called as sexual reproduction. First, we will start with asexual reproduction. Okay, now as I told you, in asexual reproduction there are no seeds involved. The reproduction takes place without the seeds, or you can say that from one plant the new offspring or the new plant arises without the involvement of the seeds. So that is called as the asexual reproduction. Okay, now in asexual reproduction there are four types of asexual reproduction. Okay, the first one is vegetative propagation, the second one is budding, the third asexual reproduction is fragmentation, and the fourth one is spore formation. We will study about all these four kinds of asexual reproduction one by one. Okay, so starting with the vegetative propagation. Okay, what is vegetative propagation? So vegetative propagation is the first kind of asexual reproduction. Now, what is vegetative propagation? Vegetative propagation means in this kind of reproduction, this is a vegetative propagation is a kind of asexual reproduction. Okay, so in this kind of asexual reproduction, new plants are produced from the vegetative parts. Now, what are vegetative parts? The vegetative parts are the roots, the stems, the leaves, and the buds. All these are the vegetative parts. That means from these parts the new plant will arise. Okay, so that is called as vegetative propagation. So vegetative parts, which are the vegetative parts? The vegetative parts of a plant are roots, stems, leaves, and buds. From these parts a new plant can arise. Okay, so that is why they are called as the vegetative parts. Now we will see how these are reproduced by the vegetative parts. Okay, for example, if we take the stem, okay, we will see the stem and the roots. Now here in your book it's given about the stem. You all are very familiar with the rose plant, isn't it? In this figure you can see the rose plant, and what is this? This is the stem cutting of the rose. Okay, so children, you all must have seen your father or your mother, whenever they have to get a new rose plant, what do? We cut the stem of the rose, isn't it? And then as you can see, this stem, if you put it into the soil and then you have to water it, if this stem gets proper amount of sunlight and water, what will happen? It will arise into a new plant. So this is a vegetative propagation by the stem. Okay, so here which is the vegetative part? Here the vegetative part is stem. So if you cut this stem and you fix it in the soil, a new plant, you will get a new rose plant. So this is called as vegetative propagation. Okay, in the same way you all must have seen potatoes at your house, isn't it? And you have seen the potatoes from the white part of the potatoes. You must have oftenly noticed when your mother is going to cut potatoes, you can see these white parts coming out from the potato, isn't it? And what are these white parts? These white parts are called as the eye of the potato. These white parts that you can see, these are the eyes of the potato. Okay, the eyes of the potato. If you cut this portion from the potato and you put it under the soil, what will happen? If you put it under the soil, if a new potato plant will arise from this part. Okay, so you all have studied that potato is another stem, isn't it? So which part of vegetative propagation is taking place here? Which is the vegetative part? Again, it is the vegetative part is the stem. Okay, and it is from which part? It is from the eyes that the new plant is arising. Okay, then you all must have noticed another kind of stem, which is the ginger plant. Sorry, not the ginger plant, it is the ginger. Okay, in ginger you all can see this is the ginger. From this part, if you cut this part from here, okay, and then if you put it inside the soil, okay, this part if you put under the soil, you will be able to get a new ginger plant. Okay, clear children? So this is another example of vegetative propagation, that is the ginger. Okay, then you have all seen the onions, isn't it? Onion also, see, this is the onion and this is the green part of the onion. Okay, now if from this part, if you want to get a new onion plant, what can you do? You have to simply cut this onion from here. Okay, you can see you have got the roots here. You have to cut the onion from here, okay, with the root, and then you have to put like this into the soil. Okay, that means the root should be underneath the soil. If you cut it like this, not this part, okay, with the root. If you cut it and you put this part into the soil, after a few days you will get a new plant from the onion. So all these are vegetative propagation, examples of vegetative propagation. Then there is a leaf. Okay, the leaf, there is a leaf which is called as the bryophyllum leaf. Okay, now bryophyllum leaves are also very common. Bryophyllum leaves, what happens? See, from this the sides of the bryophyllum leaf arises the new plant. Okay, this new plant arises from these sides, and then you can cut this. What happens when they become small? So you can see another parts are arising from these sides. Okay, now if you cut from here the leaf, if you cut this leaf from here, and you can, if you put it in the soil, or if this portion sometimes automatically falls into the ground. Okay, so when this part falls onto the ground, this particular part, it will fall on the soil and a new plant will arise from this. So all these are the examples of vegetative propagation. Okay, so I hope children that this vegetative propagation is clear to all of you. Okay, now here Bujo is asking a question that what he wants to know, is there any advantage of vegetative propagation? Okay, so what is the advantage of vegetative propagation? Vegetative propagation takes very less time to grow. Okay, and it can bear flowers and fruits earlier than those produced from seeds. When you put seeds in the soil, it takes more time as compared to the vegetative propagation. Okay, if you put this onion or if you put this ginger in the soil, you will get the plant very soon as compared to the seeds. Okay, and what is the second advantage? The second advantage is that the new plants are the exact copy of the parent plant. Okay, why? Because they are producing from one single parent. This is one single parent. This is one single parent. Okay, so since they are producing from one single parent, they are the exact copy of the parent. Okay, so these are the two advantages of vegetative propagation. The other kinds of asexual reproduction we will study in the next video. Thank you, children.